So when I was back in college, I had a trumpet that looked very similar to this one, where the lacquer's kind of half peeled off, and I was just thinking to myself, man, like this horn would look so beautiful if I just completely stripped all the lacquer off. But what I didn't know is that it would completely change how the trumpet played as well as how it sounded. And frankly, I feel it was for the worst. I feel like taking the lacquer off your horn isn't something that people usually talk about, or there's not much information online about how to do it or how it's actually going to affect how the horn plays and how it sounds. So I wanted to make this quick video to just kind of talk about what you can expect from de-lacquering your horn. This is what the horn looked like before I had stripped it of any lacquer. This is pretty much exactly how it looked when I bought the horn. And this is what the horn looked like immediately after I had stripped the lacquer. So it still looks just super brushed, super polished. And this is what the horn looks like now. Got that sexy bell. And it's kind of funny because I did a really crappy job of de-lacquering this thing. I find with Yamahas, it's actually a lot harder to strip the lacquer than box. At least that's kind of what's been told to me. It's just a different process of how they put it on. So if you look all across this horn, there were so many little spots that were just too difficult to scrub or get rid of the lacquer on. But so first let me talk about how I actually strip the lacquer off the horn. You only need a few things. You need hot water, paint thinner, and a thin grade industrial scrubbing sponge. So pretty much all you do is you take that paint thinner and you just lather it all over where you want to strip the lacquer. Let it sit for maybe like 2 to 5 minutes or something. And then you get like some boiling or like super hot water and you dip the sponge in it and then you just scrub. And you want to make sure that it's very fine grade, like almost as fine grade as you can get, because you don't want to be like actually scratching and destroying the metal. But you do have to scrub that thing. You really do have to put some elbow grease into it. But usually within a few hours or after, you can get it done. Now let's talk about how the horn changed in terms of how it actually plays. I'll try to include some clips of how it sounded before I stripped the lacquer, as well as right after. So after I stripped this horn, I played it for maybe, how long would that have been? Because that was like 20, I guess, yeah, it would have been 2019 or 2019. That was I guess, yeah, it would have been 2019. Anyway, so after I stripped this horn, I played it for maybe about 4 years or so. And I feel like I got to a point where I realized that the horn just sounds so incredibly dead and dull. And there's just no spectrum of the timbre of the instrument. Typically, what you'd want out of a trumpet is when you play it softer, it's more warm, and there's less higher overtones, and then when you put more air through it, it really starts to zing and those higher overtones pop out. But with this horn, you get the exact same sound no matter what volume or the amount of air that you're putting through it. So you play it soft, it's warm and dull. You play it loud, it's just dull and loud. I'll include some playing examples that I just recorded today to kind of show you more of what I'm talking about. At the end of the day, it really just depends on what you're looking for. You know, like if you just want a horn that's really good for small, intimate spaces and that's the sound that you like, then maybe stripping the lacquer off your horn or getting one that's already de-lacquered is not a bad move. But if you're looking for a horn that has a good amount of spectrum of timbre, then I would stray away from stripping the lacquer off your horn. Now, if we were to put it into a sort of pros and cons list, we're looking at the pros. It's sexy as hell. It looks beautiful. And if you're playing on a Bach especially, you get this super cool inseam sort of line of where they constructed the bell. And also, I find that the sound is a little bit darker and more smoky, which if that's what you're hearing in your head, then go for it. Another slight pro is that you don't have to polish it. You don't have to worry about keeping it clean or shiny if that's something that you care about. In fact, the horn actually looks better the less that you clean it, so very low maintenance in that regard. Now, talking about the cons, the spectrum of your timbre is going to be very, very limited. You're not going to be able to get a wide variety of tones out of the trumpet, which if you're doing a lot of different types of gigs, then it can be quite a challenge to play sometimes. Another con is that it's work and you have to set aside time to do it. Like you're scrubbing out every single piece of this lacquer. So you either have to be super bored or really want it that bad to strip the lacquer off your horn. But anyway, guys, that's my 2 cents on taking the lacquer off your horn. Let me know if you guys have any similar or different experiences in the comments, and I'll see you next time.